That is Beccy Cole with a song I found out during the week is actually 20 years old, which makes me feel about 140 years old. What a spectacularly good song that is, and what an incredibly talented young lady Beccy Cole is. And you'll never guess what, Rob.
Not again.
We've got someone on the phone. Hello, Beccy Cole.
Oh, g'day.
How you going? Hey,
I'm going very well. I like being called young.
Well, compared with Rob, everyone is.
That is true. Hey, Beccy, 20 years, Neil says.
For that song?
For that song. The obviously a song with a message, and you do a lot of really good other stuff that's purely entertaining, but the motivation to create and deliver that, does that still sit very clear in your mind?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Yeah, I can't believe it's 20 years myself, and we recorded it actually, and it's the bonus track on the current album, just because it means a lot to a lot of people, and going over and entertaining the Aussie troops as I did on many occasions around that time was just such an eye-opener for me, and one of the most amazing things that I've ever done as far as, changing my mind and changing my outlook and my opinion on things. And, you're allowed to say thank you to our military without letting politics get involved. And certainly that song is about supporting the troops, not the war. And a lot of people, I guess, appreciate the sentiment.
Beccy, just on that, before we get into the meat of the story, we should stick with that theme. When you get a bit of a reputation and you're respected, do you think you've got an obligation to be a bit of a leader, or is it sometimes easier just to keep away from that and stay in your lane? I'm here to just sing.
I think it depends on the issue, to be honest. Sometimes I'm very much motivated to I guess support an issue, and there are a lot of things. So I think in some ways, yes, it is my obligation to, but only if it pertains to me. And I suppose whether it's in my history, the fact that I was entertaining the troops and I was over there supporting the troops and their job and their family, and not the war and not the politics. That's why I felt motivated to I guess to give it some airtime. And in the past, whether it be LGBTQI rights or mental illness, a spotlight, those are things that pertain to me. So I think it is my obligation in a way to give that a platform and give it a voice if people want to listen.
I think the other thing, Beccy, too, about that particular song is that there have been 473 billion songs written about anti-war and stuff, and this one is you talking to a person who is doing a job. To me, it's a totally different sentiment, but a really important sentiment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, look, I think so too. It is, and it's acknowledging, the family that are often, waiting at home while their loved one serves. I think that is something that's important to point out. I actually met the digger that I refer to in that song on the 20th anniversary of the song. He said, "I'm coming to Tamworth and I'm bringing my wife." And I thought, this is amazing, because I've been singing about his wife for 20 years, and we had a wonderful gathering, and it was just an incredibly emotional time. And he was able to tell me what the song has meant to his family all these years, and being the subject of the song. And the little baby, of course, that I mentioned in the song is now 20 years old. And yeah, it's just an amazing couple of decades of, I guess, as you mentioned before, you touched on that it's a bit of a left turn from what I would normally do, the bit of tongue-in-cheek comedy and things like that. And I actually mentioned that in the song. I'm just the girl that sings the crazy songs, and I think it gives you that other perspective of who I am and how my heart operates. And as a songwriter, it was certainly, I stumbled across the song wrote itself, because I had just come back and I was full of all this emotion, and I sort of stumbled across this new side of myself that I started to explore as a songwriter.
Because my first recollection of you, I went through a phase in about 1995 when we got Foxtel, and I started fiddling with the channels and stumbled over country music television, and there was a song there by someone called Beccy Cole called Big Girls, and it was followed up with a song called Sorry I Asked, and I thought, this is the kind of person I want to sit down and have a beer with. She just seems like an enormous amount of fun. And here we are, 25, 30 years later, and I still want to sit down and have a beer with you, because I think you'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, well, thank you for that. And in the case of Big Girls, I think we're probably talking more like 35 years ago. And yeah, look, I have always loved having fun, and that's the operative word when it comes to my shows, fun and frivolity. And I have a laugh firstly at myself, which is the most important thing. As Aussies, we're pretty good at that self-deprecating humour.
Yep.
And there's a bunch of those songs on the new album. I can be a bit cynical and bitter and twisted at times with my humour. And so, yeah, but thank you for that. I appreciate that I've stuck in your mind for all these years, because I do love having a crack at being fun. And those are probably two of the most fun film clips that I've ever made. You don't really make a lot of film clips these days because there isn't the outlet for it. But back in the days of CMC and Foxtel and things like that, yeah, it really was a way to get known.
And thank you for saying self-deprecating and not self-defecating, as someone said to me the other day, because that in itself is a tautology, isn't it, really?
Yes, I'm not ready for that quite yet.
Yeah, no, and fair enough too.
Beccy, long time in the industry, and we've, as I said, we've chatted to a few of your ilk at recent times. You appear to be very much a family in the Australian country scene, still performing, still making I hope a relatively good living out of what you do well. Is it still good fun for that reason as you travel around the countryside?
Oh, without a doubt. And I am she who has never stopped touring in the last 35 years, and I love that I'm third in the series of your old girls chats on the Saturday morning. I love that. And two of my mates, Melinda Schneider, of course, and Gina Jeffries. Gina Jeffries she and I were bridesmaids for each other, and on a couple of occasions at weddings and divorces. Divorces on me, not her. But and Melinda, of course, and I put out an album, the Great Women of Country, many, many years ago, and she's, of course, I love that the three of us in our ilk are still, I'm the youngest of those three, I have to tell you, just by a smidge. But we're all in our 50s, and we're still touring and still making a living out of being entertainers, and I just love that. And I think that comes down to the loyalty of the fan base and the longevity capacity that we have in this industry, and I just absolutely love that. And getting back to your question, yes, we are a family. We're all pretty close because we understand, and it's never felt like a competition. It's never felt like, oh, I want what she's got or anything like that. We've always sort of shared that around. And my other close buddy, Casey Chambers, who just turned 50 and joined the 50 Club, she's an absolute example of how, bloody famous you can get with this genre in this country. She's up there at the pinnacle, and I'm just so incredibly proud of her too, because we started out in a band together when we were teenagers. So.
Which is getting on to 15 or 20 years ago now, Beccy.
Gosh, I love that.
And I've got to tell you this. Yesterday, I'll drop the names and Rob can pick them up. Yesterday, I pre-recorded an interview with Melinda for a show I do in Melbourne, and she said, "Oh, you got Beccy on? Say hello." So here I am on the wireless saying hello from Melinda.
Oh, well, that is so lovely. And, of course, yeah. I mean, Melinda, of course, earlier this year put out her latest album of her own music, but she's about to release as well. And you would know this. You've done all your research. But I'm just plugging her because I love her. Yep. This Barbara Streisand, her ability to be able to sing songs that Barbara Streisand made famous is just blows me away. She's an incredible talent and, of course, is touring around. So let's plug Melinda, and she'll plug me one of these days.
Have you heard her do Barbara Streisand? I got hold of the pre-release during the week. Phenomenal is the only word
phenomenal.
For it. Like
and she worked so hard on songs as well.
Yeah. No, and so and of course Gina's out and about at the moment she's finished a tour with Brooke and Jay O'Shea and their husbands, and that's a bit of fun as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, there's still. But what I love is there's a resurgence in the popularity of country music in this country, and whilst that resurgence may be focused a lot on, American artists, I think that people are, the stigma that used to be attached to country music sometimes is no longer there. So people are having a look around at what we're all doing as Australian country artists, and I love that there doesn't seem to be an element of ageism, which is wonderful, because I like I said before, apart from COVID and a tiny little time when I was 9 months pregnant, then I took a 2-week-old on the road. That's the longest break I had before COVID, and I love being on the road. I get itchy feet when I'm home for too long, even though I I live on the Murray River in South Australia, and it's pretty beautiful here, but I get itchy feet and I'm ready to hand my little dog over to my next door neighbour and pack the bags and hit the road, and that's what I'm doing in Victoria next week.
How did you get to live on the Murray River when apparently it's actually legislative that you must live on the Central Coast if you're a country singer in Australia? What's going on there?
I did that for 20 years.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
You've served your apprenticeship. No, that's okay. No.
Yeah, I lived in Copacabana, which is pretty much dead in the middle between Melinda and Gina, where they live on the coast. And yeah, there were many, many great country music gatherings that I was a part of, and I was there last week. You know, that's all right. Yeah. I spent a lot of time there, but no, I'm a South Australian by birth, and I moved back here probably nearly 15 years ago now. But yeah, I spent a couple of decades on the Central Coast of New South Wales, so I do qualify. I'm in the Central Coast Mafia.
Yeah, because if the Princes Highway ever has an earthquake down the middle of it between Newcastle and Sydney and that bit of Australia falls off, our country music scene drops by about 90%.
That's true, but I'll still be in South Australia.
You are the 10%.
That's it.
Beccy, we touched on Melinda sort of extending her skills into other genres. Have you done a little bit of that, or have you been across your entire career pretty true to your C&W roots?
I've always been pretty country, but I've always dabbled a little bit, as my mum did. My mum's a country singer. Mum's now 82. She still sings and still is.
That's a mean version of Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah, so you saw our little. Occasionally, I drag Mum onto social media, and she loves it. But I get her on stage too whenever we do a show locally, and she blows everybody away. But she started out as a country artist in the 60s and 70s when they had shows out of Adelaide, where she's from, and then she moved on to a little bit of rock and roll and a bit of pop stuff, and so she dabbles as I have over the years. But I've always found my home in country music. But I've done a bit of cabaret, and different. When I'm set to different tasks, when I've done rock whiz and things like that, it's been so much fun. I think the last time I did rock whiz, I sang with Phil Jamieson, who's the lead singer of Grinspoon. I think he and I sang Hall & Oates, Your Kiss Is On My List, and things like that. So I absolutely love dabbling, and I played the part of Chrissy Amphlett in a small production where I got to sing Pleasure and Pain and all those great songs as well. So, yeah, it's always fun to have a dabble, but country's where my heart is, I have to say.
Now, please, also, I don't like to keep correcting you, but if you are on a Geelong radio station, you must call Chrissy Amphlett Geelong's own Chrissy Amphlett. It's actually law, right?
I beg your pardon.
Yeah, she's a Belmont High School girl, so you've got to say that.
Absolutely, and a massive fan I have always been and always will be. You know, I've read her book several times. I'm a good friend of her cousin, little Patty, and
friend of the blokes.
She and I, funnily enough, went to the Middle East together the time that I wrote Poster Girl. So she's always been on the board of the Forces Entertainment and is a wonderful human. And she got to tell me that she told Chrissy that I sang her song pretty well.
Yes, we've been very fortunate to speak to Patty on here a couple of times. So, yeah, she's a lovely lady.
The future, Beccy, how much energy have you got to keep this busy lifestyle up?
For this, I have a lot of energy. You know, I only recently stopped doing your gig. Actually, I was in radio for about 5 years on ABC, presenting a country music program. And when I released the new album earlier this year, so in March, I thought I better free myself up to just get, I guess serve the original dream was what my plan was, and radio can you've got to put a lot of work in, as you guys would know. I thought I'll step aside from radio, although I don't think my on mic days on the radio are over, because I've really enjoyed my time doing it. But yeah, as far as how much energy I've got, I think it's endless. When you look at my mother and at 82 and how incredible she still is, and I don't. We talked about having a beer together. I don't do that as much as I used to, which actually does give you a lot more energy in your 50s.
Yeah, or cool drink. I didn't have to be a beer. I'm metaphoric.
Metaphoric, I know, but I think you hit a point where you can't do it as much as you used to. And there have been times in my life where I've hit it pretty hard and had a good old party time. It's the only industry that I can think of in the world where you turn up to work and they bring a great big tub of alcohol for you to drink while you're working. And there's been, 3 decades of that. And I started slowing down and not grabbing for something else on the ice some time ago, and it's certainly given me even more energy. So there you go. I think I haven't had my last tipple, but, I don't party as much as I used to.
About the songwriting, Beccy, you're still inspired by life situations to keep penning music?
Absolutely. I think, even more so, I think as you get older, you're less likely to worry about what people think. And certainly there's a lot on my last album, the latest album, Through the Haze. It's reporting on a lot of, breakup themes. And I went through my second divorce, which is, I guess pretty much appropriate for the, I don't know, for the industry I'm in, I suppose. Having a couple of divorces, it seems pretty, something like a famous person would do. I didn't mean to. That wasn't neither of them were my choices. But, I think the lifestyle kind of leans towards that. And for me, being able to write about it in both a humorous way and a from the heart, pretty, kind of tell-all way, I think has been rather a cathartic experience. And I think that, there's a lot that happens. You see more as you get older as far as, beautiful scenery. And the touring used to be about, partying all night and not really looking at the town. And now it's about beautiful cafes and the odd cellar door and lovely farmers markets and things like that. And you tend to have your eyes open a little bit more as you get older, and there's so much more to write about, and characters that you meet, and just the beauty in the world becomes really apparent more as you get older, and you see a lot of postcards, pictures in your head as you're driving along. And so I think there's an endless supply of things to write about.
Well, I helped a country duo in Leongatha last night to launch their upcoming album. And on the way home, I thought to myself, I reckon Beccy's been here, because I was driving through the haze, I've got to tell you. It was one of those South Gippsland kind of days. I thought there was a beautiful segue into the album. Watch and learn, Rob. The album is called Through the Haze and has been out for a few months. I bought it when it came out. I've even got a signed copy of it, Rob. Because Beccy wrote something nice on the front of mine. It said,
there you go.
Beccy Cole. So thank you for doing that, Beccy. But it's a great album, and as you said, it's got the bonus track of Poster Girl. How long did it take for Through the Haze to come together?
Well, it was pretty quick, to be honest, from when I decided to do it, because I didn't know about doing an album because I had been through... it was pretty hazy there for a while, to be honest, before I got through it. So, as far as my mental health journey and my breakup, and I knew that I wanted to write some songs, and I knew that I wanted to get back to being a bit humorous at times and things like that, but also have that sort of, reporting on things that had happened to me that pretty much broke. I've had a broken heart a lot of times, but I've never had a broken mind until this time. And so I wanted to be able to write and be brave enough to report on it, I suppose, without getting too heavy. So I think the humour kind of offsets that the occasional heaviness and the admissions that I make on the record, and the discovery, I think, once you've been through therapy, you see things that you can't unsee. And so in answer to your question, it was really quick. When I actually booked the studio time, so I made this album at Casey Chambers' studio on the Central Coast, and went pretty much back home, where I call home, and my son was one of the producers, as was pretty much everyone in the room. I named as a producer because we were all contributing in that way. And so by the time we booked the session in, my son said, "Righto, Mum, go write the songs," and he was so encouraging. And I don't know, I'm very blessed to have an incredible son who works with me on a lot of my projects, as well as everything that he's doing in his own career. And funnily enough, to bring back Phil Jamieson, my son's actually on tour with Phil Jamieson at the moment, which is just a coincidence that I happen to have sung with him on Rock Quiz, and my son's now his guitar player on this current tour. But I'm very, very blessed to have the input of my family, my mum, as I mentioned earlier, my son. And so I think for me, getting that album done so quickly, and some of the songs I only finished in last October and finished the album in November, and it was mixed and ready to go by March. So, but I had a lot to say, and I just needed to sit down and write it all, and there it is.
Beccy, just on that, we talked about Post Girl, maybe the political aspect of your reputation, but you've obviously been open about your personal battles. Is that something where you feel you could really potentially make a difference to your regular supporters in the industry to help them get through these circumstances, which are sadly becoming more and more common in life?
Without a doubt, and I think that is absolutely my mission and my obligation in a way, getting back to what you were asking earlier. I think that if I've been through something that by reporting on it could help others, I think that's a really important position that I could put myself in. And whether it's, with the interviews that I've been doing a lot of podcasts on mental illness and things like that, and it was as big a surprise to me as anyone, because I don't have a predisposition to mental illness. I didn't grow up having, depression and anxiety and things like that I empathise with people that have suffered from it. But it wasn't until I went through a massive episode, and basically, without getting too deep into it, I didn't want to be here anymore, and that scared the life out of me. Just to think that I wouldn't want to be that, and so my energy, I suppose, had to go into rebuilding myself, and I felt like at times that I was rebuilding rubble, to be honest. And so the art of that, of being able to, the vulnerability really feeds into good art. I've always thought that. And so if you allow yourself to be vulnerable and to say, well, yes, this happened to me, and to be honest, if it happened to me, it can happen to anyone. So I like being able to talk about it and being brave enough to sort of say, yep, I was there, and you're going to be okay. And that's the biggest thing that you can say to somebody who's going through that. It's just one step at a time. And when they say one day at a time, it came down to half an hour increments with me. Just get through the next half an hour. And that's what I say to people. And there'll be people listening now that are going through it, and my heart absolutely goes out to them. And I think it's just so important to just be kind, to have kindness, and to know that you matter in the world.
Well,
good on you.
Yes, we applaud that for your preparedness to share that, and that's a really important thing. So thank you for doing that. Now, I've got some news for you, Beccy. I hope you are aware of this. I drove past the Gateway Hotel this morning on the way to here, and you're expected there next Saturday night.
The signs are up.
Has someone pointed that out to you?
Yes, indeed. I'm looking forward to it.
That's
I
fine.
Can't wait.
As long as someone's told you, that's all. It'd be awkward if everyone turned up assuming that. But you're doing 4 dates in Victoria over the next week or so. So Thursday night you are at the Hallam Hotel in Hallam. There's a lot of H's in there, isn't there? And that's a seated event. That's on Thursday night. Then you are at the York on Lilydale Hotel on Friday night. And there's the option there of either sitting down and watching or having dinner in the show. There's a couple of options. Then the big one at the Gateway on Saturday night, a week from today. That's why I've been harassing you, trying to get you on the show, you understand, because I wanted you to be on this week so people would know to be there next week. And then you're doing an afternoon show. That's the first sign that you're getting past 50, isn't it? That the afternoon show on Sunday, that's at the Brunswick Ballroom at a 1 o'clock opening and 2:30 p.m. show.
Yeah, look, I love a good Arvo show, and I love the Brunswick Ballroom. It's a great venue. But the other 3 venues that you mentioned, including the great Gateway Hotel next Saturday night,
yep.
I've been playing those venues for over 30 years. And the memories that I have, sometimes with Adam Harvey, sometimes alone, sometimes with the young stars of country as we were known back in the, the early 2000s, late 90s, I suppose. I have such memories of those venues. I mean, I was thinking about the Hallam Hotel the other night, and I remember being on stage while people were smoking at the tables in front of me. That's how long ago that was. And the Gateway Hotel holds one of my greatest memories. And back in the day, I used to scull a beer. And people often say to me, "Scull a beer again, Beccy, come on, do a shoey," and all of these things. And I reprised that last time, probably about 5 years ago now, at the Gateway Hotel. and this young fella down the back in a cowboy hat, as I sculled the beer, yelled out, "I wish you were my mum." I laughed so hard. It actually ended up on a stubby cooler. It was the funniest thing. Whenever I think about the Gateway Hotel, I think about "Wish you were my mum," and I just think, what a funny thing for someone to yell out. And I thought, I'd like to have a beer with him. There you go. That's me. That's me using your line.
And surprise, on line two. No, we don't. Beccy, thank you so much for being part of it. A serious note for people who are listening. In the event that something that Beccy's been talking about has caused you some concern, please reach out to Beyond Blue, 1300 22 4636 or Lifeline 131114, because we do have some people who listen to the program who may in fact have been triggered by a couple of things you said. So that's thank you for being open and honest and transparent with it. It's really important. We have loved having you on the program, and we hope you can come back another time.
I certainly hope so. It's been lovely talking to you blokes. It really has. And thank you so much for the plug for the album and the shows coming up. I really appreciate it. All the girls. This is the series of the older girls that you've been talking to.
Yeah, and we had Adam Harvey in amongst there. I'm sure he doesn't mind being an honorary girl.
We're trying to get Dolly Parton on next week.
Yeah. Brackets, Geelong's own Adam Harvey, of course. Thanks, Beccy. We're going to go out with a song off your new album called The Gardener and the Flower. Is there a story behind that before we let you go?
Oh, look, this is, in terms of therapy, this is a secure attachment song for anyone who just loves. And I had my grandmother right up until 2023. She was 104 when she passed, and she was an avid gardener, and she and Grandpa were married and together for over 70 years. So think about love when you think about this song, and know that at least I know something about love.
The album is called Through the Haze. The artist is called Beccy Cole. She will be at the Gateway next Saturday night. Thanks, Beccy.
Thank you, Beck. That was delightful.